إن الحمد نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa ta'ala wa barakatuhu. Welcome you all brothers and sisters on behalf of Al-Maq Islamic Center to this special one-day intensive course on love, marriage and family delivered by Mufti Tawseed Mia. I'd like to begin by inviting Brother Siraj to come to the stage and recite some verses from the Book of Allah, inshallah.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. تبارك الذي بيده الملك وهو على كل شيء قدير. الذي خلق الموت والحياة ليبلوكم أيكم أحسن عملا وهو اللطيف الغفور. الذي خلق 7 سماوات طباقا ما ترى في خلق الرحمن من تفاوت فارجع البصر هل ترى من فطور ثم ارجع البصر كرتين ينقلب إليك البصر قاسيا وهو حسير. ولقد زينا السماء الدنيا بمصابيها وجعلناها رجوما للشياطين وأعتدنا لهم عذاب السعير. وللذين كفروا بربهم عذاب جهنم وبئس المصير. إذا ألقوا فيها سمعوا لها شهيقا وهي تفور. صدق الله العظيم.
Okay, before I introduce the speaker formally, I'd like to just quickly go through the program of the day for today, inshallah. And also like to thank the Masjid Committee for helping to organize this very special event. The program of the day, the first session is due to begin in the next few minutes, inshallah. That will run up until 11:15. From 11:15 to 11:30 there will be a tea and coffee break. Tea and coffee have been provided as well as other snacks, inshallah, throughout the day. So feel free to help yourself to that. Use it time to also mingle with each other, get to know each other, inshallah. The next session then will be from 11:30 to 12:45, and then from 12:45 to 1:30 is lunch and Zuhr Salah. We have provided a good lunch for you, inshallah, so hopefully you won't be disappointed, but don't eat too much because we don't want you to fall asleep for the afternoon session. After the Zuhr Salah, from 1:30 to 2:45 is the third session, followed by another 15-minute tea and coffee break, and then the fourth session is from 3 p.m. to 4:15. Asr Salah is from 4:15 to 4:45 with another tea break in between, and then the last session, the fifth session, is from 4:45 till 5:45. Maghrib will take place between 5:45 and 6:15 with a tea break, and then the final session will be a Q&A session from 6:15 to 6:45. Inshallah, then there will be a round-up conclusion from 6:45 to 7 p.m. Before I introduce the speaker, I'd like to give a brief biography of our speaker who's come today, and inshallah will be sharing his knowledge with us. Mufti Muhammad Tawseed Mia is graduated from Darul Uloom as a qualified Hafiz, Alim and Mufti. He is practically and theoretically conversant and knowledgeable in the field of Islamic studies and theology. He has graduated from Birmingham City University with a Bachelor's of Arts degree in LLB Law. He has completed a dissertation on Islamic inheritance law in theology and in practice. He has delivered various courses and lectures in the UK and across Europe on essential subjects like Salah, Zakah, fasting and marriage. He has also recorded and released a CD on the Fiqh of marriage. He currently teaches Islamic studies at a local madrasa in Birmingham and also lectures weekly on the tafsir of the Holy Quran and commentary on various hadiths. He also is the principal of Al-Islah Institute based in Smedley and the editor of the quarterly magazine Al-Mujib. I'd like to thank Mufti Tawseer Mia for taking his time out from his very busy schedule and teaching us this very, very important subject matter. So without any further ado, Mufti Tawseer Mia.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. It is mentioned in a hadith which can be found in Sunan al-Tirmidhi and in Sunan ibn Majah that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam has said, when someone travels to acquire knowledge, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make his path towards paradise and Jannah easy. And whenever somebody travels to acquire knowledge, the angels of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala spread their wings over them. And the scholars of hadith have commentated that what is meant by the angels spreading their wings over them. So some scholars have said that the angels will shower their mercy over them. Some scholars have said that when that person travels to that place to seek knowledge, the angels will make his journey easy for him. Some other scholars have said that when that person travels to that place to seek knowledge, he will have no problems, he will have no accidents, he will have no difficulties on the way. So all of us, all the brothers and sisters upstairs who have come for this course, we should not think that, Sunday morning I could have had an extra lie-in. Sunday morning could have spent some time with family, with sons, with daughters, with wives, could have gone shopping. Actually think of this time to be something blessed, and actually think of yourself to be in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Think of yourself to be under the shade of the angels. Think yourself, more importantly, that you are actually making a door towards Jannah and towards paradise. So this is a very, even though, just say for example, we may not understand anything, just say for argument's sake, but even just coming for this particular lesson and course, we've done such a great deed and such a great action and such a great thawab. So obviously just coming, alhamdulillah, we're going to get so much thawab and so much reward. Now the next part, if we now acquire something from this course, if we learn something from this course, whether it's 10%, whether it's 20%, whether it's alhamdulillah we get 90, 100% of this course, then there's another hadith of Sunan al-Tirmidhi, another hadith of Sunan ibn Majah, where Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has said that an alim, someone who's knowledgeable, so it doesn't have to be a scholar, but someone who's knowledgeable, is more powerful than 1,000 abids, 1,000 worshippers. Why? Why is someone who has knowledge about marriage, about divorce, about salah, about zakat, why is he more powerful than 1,000 abids? He's powerful because that abid, that worshipper, he just worships Allah, he doesn't have any knowledge. Whereas someone who has knowledge and he worships Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, wa ta'ala, and he also tries and exerts his effort in spreading this knowledge. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has promised that he is 1,000 times more better than an abid and than a worshipper. So alhamdulillah, this is a great opportunity to learn about our deen, to learn about a very important topic about love, about family, about marriage, and also it's a very important act of thawab and a great deed and an action which we are doing. Now before we look at the course book which is in front of us, just some, you could say, etiquette, some rules which we need to firstly go over, just to make sure that the course runs smoothly. Because it's a very long course, it's over 7 hours or so. So obviously we need to have some kind of ground rules, if that makes sense, for the course to run smoothly, because if there weren't any rules, and obviously there could be later on in the day students getting tired, frustrated, and it could actually descend into chaos. So obviously we don't want that. So just some basic rules, some basic kind of adabs and etiquette, not rules of myself, not rules of actually the masjid, just actually rules of Allah and Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, some adabs and some etiquettes when it comes to acquiring and learning knowledge. And just a few I've mentioned in this slide and the slides which are coming up. So say for example the first rule which is mentioned there, that when it comes to acquiring knowledge, always correct your intention. Always make sure that you are acquiring knowledge for the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Remember, whatever we do in life, it should be done with the intention to please God Almighty, to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we shouldn't be here because of, oh, I've got nothing else to do on a Sunday, or somebody just forced me to come here. We should actually have that intention in our heart that actually we're doing it solely for the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because when you make an intention that this is only for Allah and for no one else, you see that you'll be able to benefit from your knowledge. Moving along to the next point which is mentioned there, that always make dua that you use the knowledge gained for the betterment of the ummah and society and humanity. So whatever we acquire today, also at the same time make dua that what we learn, we're going to now convey to somebody else. What we learn and acquire, we're going to now explain it to our wives if they are not here, or to our sons or to our daughters if they are not here. So whatever we learn, we're going to try to spread it to others. So that should be our intention. It's something what we call da'wah, preaching. So obviously this is not like da'wah to non-Muslims, but this is a form of a da'wah or nasiha or advice to Muslims. You may be going through difficulties in their marriage, you may be having problems with sons, daughters, and maybe having problems at home. So obviously whatever we learn today, we make an intention that we're going to go and speak to these brothers. We're going to go and tell them about what to do, how to do this. And I'll just mention a hadith that the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has said, whoever encourages a person to do something, kafa'ilihi, it is though that he has done it himself. Just say for example, you can't do it yourself for some reason, but you encourage someone to give sadaqah and charity. So the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has said that you encourage someone, it is though that you have done it and you will get the thawab and the reward. In another hadith, the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has said that if someone tells someone to do something good, so just say for example, you met a brother and you told him to pray namaz, or you told him to give some sadaqah or charity. So the hadith goes on to explain that as long as that brother continues doing that, you will get the exact same reward. And the amount of thawab or reward he was getting, it's not going to decrease from your side. So what does that mean? It means that, just as somebody was having problems at home, you told him, brother, this is what you do. And it worked. In other words, like the difficulties he was having at home, it got better. So the hadith explains that because he told him to do something good, so that person, whatever he did, and just say for argument's sake he got 80% reward, that 80 reward or 80% reward, you will get the exact same as well. But also remember the contrary, that if you say something wrong, or if you say something bad, or you tell someone to do something wrong or bad, and then that person goes and commits that wrong or bad thing, then you will get the exact same sin for. Why? Because you were the first one to tell him, you were the one who encouraged him to do something unlawful and something haram. Okay? So basically, this second point is telling us that whatever we learn, we should try our best to make intention that we are doing it with the intention to for the betterment of the ummah and for community. Some of the rules there afterwards, that if you need to ask the teacher a question, then you should obviously use respectable words such as ustad or maulana or teacher or sheikh. Some of the rules that again it's disrespectful, but again as I said, these are not just my rules, these are actually rules of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Even when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam would talk, the companions and sahabas would not be talking amongst each other. So it's like another rule also, that do not speak or ask questions whilst the teacher is speaking, whilst the teacher is delivering the course, unless you are asked to do so. In other words, if I was to, ask a brother, okay, what's the answer here, or something, then that's different. But whilst the teacher is talking or speaking, then obviously it's very disrespectful to talk to others or to ask questions. Also, the third point here, with regards to mobile phones. So any mobile phones, if we could just have that either off or the very least have it on silent, so if when I'm delivering the course, it doesn't go on in the middle. And lastly, the last point here, remember to keep your questions for the Q&A period. So inshallah, what we'll do is that, even though it's not mentioned in the session, but I'll finish the session, say around 5 minutes, like 5 minutes early, and then I'll give a 5-minute Q&A session. Because I think officially it's at the bottom, it's mentioned that Q&A is right at the end, but there'll be so many questions and we won't be able to fit it in that 15 minutes right at the end. So what I'll do is that after each session, when the information is still kind of fresh in our mind and we may have some questions, I'll give a 5-minute or 2-3 minute kind of period at the end where brothers will be able to ask questions, and also sisters as well from upstairs. With regards to food, so again, food not allowed during the class, however, water or a cup of tea, then that would be allowed, inshallah. Okay, now before we look at the course book, just want to go over some of the things, the course plan, what we're going to be looking at over the next few hours or so. So obviously we'll be, by the way, this list is not exhaustive in terms of, there's other topics as well, but these are just some of the main things we'll be touching on, such as virtues of marriage, contract of marriage, ruling on getting married. So what does the Sharia say when it comes to getting married? Some topics on the side about rights of husband and wife and family. So again, family disputes, issues between husband and wife, how to deal with them. And to tell the truth, the main crux of this course will be based on the family side, rights of husband and wife and family. Because alhamdulillah, there's many Fiqh of marriage courses, I'm sure many of the brothers have attended. But what's so unique about this one, or what's so special about this one, is that, yes, we'll be looking at the laws of marriage and how to go about it and how to be with the wife, but we want to touch on the family side, the family. So how should a husband and wife, be with each other, issues about children, tarbiyah, these kind of things. So we want to really highlight, because what we've realized, not just in the Allen Rock area or Washwood Heath area, just basically all over Birmingham, all over the UK, all over the world, that there's problems in families. Whether you go Pakistan, India, it's the same thing, same issues there as well. So there's problems. So we want to discuss these problems, highlight these problems, and more importantly, we want to give the Islamic background or the Islamic Sharia advice to these problems. Because what unfortunately happens is that when we go through problems at home with wife and children, we get advice, but we'll phone someone, we call them shrinks or someone, or we go for marriage counseling, or we do a Google search for the answer to our problems. But actually the beauty of our deen and the beauty of the Holy Quran is that the answers are there. The answers are in the Quran, the answers are in the Sunnah. So that's why this course is unique, that we're going to be touching on these family issues, rights of husbands and wives, what kind of right does the husband have over his wife? What rights do wives have over the husband? In particular for the men, for the brothers, many brothers unfortunately think that wives don't have any rights, just the man has the right. But actually, we'll see from the course that there are many rights the wives have over the husbands. So inshallah we'll be touching on that and some of the points with regards to selection of a partner. What does the Sharia say when it comes to finding a spouse, when it comes to finding a wife, or similarly sisters, when it comes to them looking for a husband, whether they are looking themselves or whether their parents are doing it for them, then what kind of questions they should ask, things about the meeting and so on. So inshallah, these are some of the topics which we will be discussing during the course. Okay, now the way we're going to do the course is we're going to be rotating around the book and also some slides as well. So in other words, we'll be concentrating more on the book, but there are certain points which haven't been mentioned in the book, certain kind of reasons or wisdoms. So inshallah we'll then use the slide to explain those bits or those things which are not in the book, or for further elaboration, inshallah we'll use these slides. Now if we have a look at the course book, it's over around 20 pages or so. So it's been designed in such a way that on the left hand side you've got the notes. So that's where you make some notes. Obviously if you require any paper, obviously there are brothers outside or brothers at the back, so you can inshallah ask them for paper, but I don't think so that will be the case. So what I request brothers is that we'll go over the book, we'll go over the course book, but any kind of points which are not mentioned in the course book, or certain opinions of other imams or other scholars, or certain kind of words of wisdom, then if you could just make a note of it on this side. And just one point about writing, kitabat. Writing is something which is, remember, when you write something, it stays in your memory. That's the beauty of writing. If I was to just give you a lecture for 4, 5 hours, 7 hours, and you don't make a note of it at all, it'll go through 1 year, and you probably remember 5%, and then you come out of the other. But actually, when you write something down, so whether it's an opinion that Imam Malik has said this, or Imam Abu Hanifa has said this, or it's a particular rule or a mas'ala which may be applicable to you, if you write it down, you'll see, you'll try out today, you'll see that you actually remember that. You remember that more. And that's why it's very important that whenever we go to any kind of talks or lectures, always take a paper and a pen with you. So if there is any beautiful points or any words of wisdom given by the scholar, you'll see, just make a note of it, and you'll see yourself that you'll never ever forget that point. And that will then continue, you will then tell your children will then tell your grandchildren, and you will kind of continue and continue. And this is how, in a way, knowledge was spread, because all the books which we have, like Quran, the Sahih al-Bukhari, the Sahih Muslim, they spread through writing. Imam al-Bukhari, he wrote the books of hadith down, then Imam Muslim and Imam Tirmidhi. So this is how knowledge has passed from the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam all the way until now. So inshallah, whatever words of wisdom, whatever rulings, whatever new things you've learned, make a habit of inshallah writing down, and there'll be barakah and there'll be blessings in that. Okay, let's move on to the first page of the course book, page 2. And the first topic which we are going to look at is with regards to love. Love in Islam. Now it is mentioned in a hadith that the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has said, this hadith can be found in Musnad Ahmad, that human beings have been created with two things. So there are two things which are inherent inside them. One is anger, and the other one is lust, desires. So one is anger, and the other one is lust and desires. So it's inherent inside us. So if somebody was to say, oh, I never get angry, then that person's lying, because it's always there. Obviously we control it, but it's always there. And that's why, people, they could only take so much. Even though he's saying, no, I don't get angry, you could do whatever to me. But no, there will be a time when that person will go mad. So why? Because the anger is always inherent inside you. And similarly, lust is also inherent inside all of us. Desires, lust. Again, if somebody was to say, oh, I don't have any desires for women, I'm okay, I could speak to a woman, I have no desires and lust, then that person is lying. Because it's mentioned in that hadith of Musnad Ahmad that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has said, and listen to this hadith carefully, that if somebody was to tell you that a mountain has moved from its place, the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Tusaddiquhu, believe him." If somebody was to tell you that this mountain, like Mount Everest, it's not there anymore, it's gone somewhere else. So the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has said, believe it. But if somebody was to tell you that a person has changed his fitrah, in other words, he's changed his inherent features, like he doesn't get angry anymore, he doesn't have lust anymore, the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, فَلَا تُصَدِّقُوهُ, do not believe it. So what I'm trying to say is that lust is always there. If somebody says, I don't have any lust, then that person is lying. It's always there. Obviously, the deen or the sharia tells us to control it. And this is what we're going to look at later, through marriage and not through any haram relationships. But it's always inherently there. But it's not bad. So if somebody was to say, oh, I've got lust in my heart, it's not bad. It's like a natural thing. It's like, going to the bathroom is natural, eating is natural. Similarly, having lust in your heart is natural. So there's nothing haram, there's nothing bad or wrong with having lust. Many people think or assume that, having lust is bad. No, it's not bad. It's there. But what the deen tells us, what the sharia tells us, is that this lust and this desire has to be in check. It has to be under control. That's very important. Because if it's not under control, if it's not under check, then it goes way off track. Then it goes way out of hand. Then it goes like what animals do. In other words, zina, adultery. Not only that, but the same animals, mate in public. That's what happens when your lust and desires are not under control, that you'll start committing zina and adultery in public. You'll start, committing all these things we hear in the papers about voyeurism and so on. You do that when your lust and your desires are not under control. All these things we hear within our community of men, grooming young girls, and then obviously, fulfilling their desires with them or fulfilling their lust with them. It happens, why? Because their lust and their desires are not under control. So it's very, very dangerous that lust and desires, if you don't have it under control, it'll make you bonkers. make you mad. It'll take away the haya. Haya basically means the shame, the modesty. It'll take that away from you, and literally you will become like animals. And this is, as you brothers know, is one of the signs of Day of Judgment. That Day of Judgment will not happen until people will be committing zina, adultery, openly on the roads. And we kind of see that. We hear some cases where police have arrested someone for committing zina and adultery in public. So we kind of seen that with our own eyes. So this is what happens when lust and desires are not under control. Now moving on to that first topic about love in Islam. So what does Islam say? Islam say that any kind of fulfilling of lust or desires before marriage is not true love. It's not actual love. When I was doing the introduction a month or so ago, I mentioned this point that love before Islam is all artificial. In other words, you've got a girlfriend, that's all artificial, that love you show her and the love she shows you, it's all a fake. It's all artificial. Why? Because you're not living together. You know, you're at your own house, your parents' house, she's in her parents' house, and you just text her now and then, phone her now and then, you meet up now and then, and obviously the 1 hour, 2 hours you spend, is so sweet and so nice. You basically, if you're going out for dinner, you take the chair out and you make her sit there, you remove her coat and so on. That what you do for 2-3 hours is all like a fake, it's artificial. But the true love, if you look at the next part of the notes, the true love is after marriage. In other words, when you are married and you live together and you get to know her habits, good habits, bad habits, but then you are patient, or then you work on those habits and you mold her, and then she also has an influence and she also molds you. That relationship, that love you have, that is true love in Islam. Anything before marriage, it's a total fake. It's totally artificial. Here and there just buying gifts and so on. Totally artificial. The true love is after marriage. When you go through problems, but because what happens is that couples who are not married, before marriage, as soon as they hit a rock or as soon as they go through a slight problem, they just call it quits and they go their separate ways. But in marriage, Islam teaches that no, actually when you go through problems, you need to work on it. As we're going to look at later, you need to work on those problems. You need to settle your differences. And then you'll see that the relationship that you have is very, very strong. When you've been hit, when you've been broken, when you've been battered and bruised, and then you get up and then you work on that, you'll see that you value that relationship more. It's like saying when you were growing up, somebody told you, you know what, you're useless, you're not going to make it as a doctor. You're useless, you're not going to make it as a lawyer. So you were abused, you were battered, you were bruised, your confidence took a hit. But then you got up and then you became a doctor, you then became a lawyer, you then value that. So exactly here with married couples, their relationships, that when they go through rocks, when they go through difficulties, and they get up together and they work on their differences, they have an influence with each other, they mold each other, then that relationship, brothers and sisters, is really, really strong. And that's what Islam says is true love. Anything before that is a total and absolute fake. And this is what is mentioned in this hadith here, narrated by Ibn Abbas anhu, that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has said that there is nothing like love between marriage. In other words, the relationship of marriage is what we call true love. That is true love. Anything before that is not considered to be love. Now moving on to the next point, or the next subsection here, importance of marriage. Why is getting married important? Now obviously we're not going to be looking at every single line of the course book, it will just take too long, but I'll just give a brief crux of this particular section, importance of marriage. Why is marriage so important? Now, if you could just have a look at the slide which is in front of us. I've just mentioned some wisdoms and some hikmah of getting married. Why the Sharia, why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His beloved Prophet Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam have encouraged marriage and the importance of marriage. I mentioned there protection of one's chastity. When we get married, we are protecting our chastity. In other words, as I was explaining before, we could have fulfilled our desires in an unlawful way. We could fulfill our desires through masturbation, through some other kind of way, but the best way and the lawful way and the most purest way of fulfilling your desires is by getting married. So when we get married, we protect our chastity. In other words, we are not committing unlawful relations with another woman. We're not falling into homosexuality or masturbation or these kind of things. We're doing it in the proper way, the way taught to man by God, i.e. by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In other words, when Adam alayhi salam was sent to this world, what happened? Who was the next person God or Allah created? Was he his sons? Was he somebody else? No, it was his wife, Hazrat Hawa radiallahu anha. So that's number one, protection of one's chastity. Another reason for marriage or wisdom of getting married is the increase of the Muslim population. As mentioned in the hadith, فَإِنِّي مُكَاثِرٌ بِكُمُ الْأُمَمِ. In other words, the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has encouraged that we should get married. Why? Because through marriage there will be children, and in that particular way there will be an increase of the Muslim population. Number three, and this is what I think is the main reason why. It's a beautiful way of living. And what is meant by a beautiful way of living? Now, you are single men or even single women. Even though they've got a brilliant job, they may be doctors, they may be lawyers, they're getting so much money every year. They could be like the chief executive of a multi-million pound worth of a company. They could have the highest job, the top paid job. But you speak to them, you ask them, they'll say that, you know what, there's still something missing in our life. I'm not sure what the brother didn't mention, but obviously my hobby, you could say, is like reading books. You know, so I love reading books. There's always a book with me. Whenever I have some free time, so even if I come mosque early, like there's still 10-20 minutes left before namaz, I'll always have a book and I'll read that. But I'll even say that even though I read so much, I read so many books and I teach tafsir and hadith, even then there is still something missing. And that thing missing, I'm not talking about lust and desires here, there's still something missing in your life. And that something missing is basically family, i.e. wife and children. Yeah, because the amount of time, you know, that time you spend with your wife or your sons or your daughters, you know, like, even though you're not doing anything, but they're just like on top of you, jumping on you, or just like playing around with you, or, you know, they're just doing something, coloring, but you're just there. That moment, that time, you can never ever replicate it with anything in life. You could do as much reading as you want, but you can't replicate that feeling you have when you are with your wife, when you are with your daughters, when you are with your son, when you are with your family. So what I'm trying to say is that the Deen, i.e. Allah and His Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, have taught us a kind of a beautiful way of living. It's basically getting married, you know, being with our wives, having children, rather than just being single rather than just ordering takeaway food every night and so on. The best way of life, like being together, then building up a family, then on top of that you have children, you have responsibilities, then you mold your children the way you want. Like when you speak to people, they will always like to, sometimes would like to boast. It's like sometimes inherent, I think boast is a strong word, but it's something inherent that you like someone to be like you. In a way, like this example, if you're like dedicated, actually you want your children to be like you as well, dedicated. Or just say if you don't have children, but you want your students or someone to be like you, dedicated. If you are hardworking, you want your students to be like hardworking. If you are, say for example, jolly, you want your students and your colleagues to be jolly as well. Now obviously, as you know, when it comes to students or colleagues, you don't have that power or authority over them. So if you're jolly, you can't force your friend to be jolly as well. If you are jolly, you can't force your students to be jolly. If you are serious and dedicated, you can't do that to your students, you can't do that to your friends or your colleagues. But actually, you can do something like that to your own children. Obviously, within the limits of the Sharia. So if you are hardworking, dedicated, or you've started something off or organization, you want to train your son or your daughter to then take their father's lead. So this is like a beautiful way of building up a family, tarbiyah of children. You get married, you have children, the children are under your care, and then what you do is that you build them up, you make them like you make them religious, you make them pious, you make them God-fearing. So this is like another beautiful reason why you get married. And then lastly, this is actually mentioned in a hadith book, subhanAllah, that there's only two worships or two ibadats which remain from, or which started, I should say, from the time of Adam alayhi salam, and it will last in paradise and in Jannah. And the two worships are, number one, Iman, faith. So when Adam alayhi salam came to this world, there was faith, there was Iman. And then the next prophet who came, Sayyidina Shis alayhi salam, then Nuh alayhi salam, Idris alayhi salam, all the prophets who then came, all the way up to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And now, Iman is still an ibadah, it's still worship. And the second worship, which started from Adam alayhi salam's time, which continued all the way up to Abu sallallahu alayhi wasallam's time, and not only that, which will continue in Jannah and paradise, is marriage, is nikah. When Adam alayhi salam came to this world, he was married. All the prophets besides Isa alayhi salam and Yahya alayhi salam, they were all married. And marriage is a worship which will last in Jannah and in paradise as well. In other words, as all of you know, the hadith is that in Jannah, in paradise, men would have their worldly wives. So the wives we had in this world, we'll also have them. And on top of that, we'll also have the heavenly wives, the Hurri. So what I'm trying to explain is that in Jannah, we'll still be married. Yeah, the wife we had in this world, we will also have them in the hereafter as well. Obviously, other ibadats like namaz, zakat, we give it in this world, but as soon as we leave this world, there's no prayers, there's no zakat anymore, there's no fasting anymore. But nikah is such a worship that it started from Adam alayhi salam's time, it continued all the way up to Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam's time. Not only that, it will continue in the hereafter, inshallah ta'ala, in Jannah and in paradise. So that's like the wisdom and the beauty of marriage. Okay, we'll come back to that slide later, inshallah. Okay, if we move on to the next topic on page 2, virtues of getting married. So again, this talks about some hadiths the Prophet ﷺ has mentioned about marriage. In particular, if we have a look at hadith number 2, a very famous hadith, that Rasulullah ﷺ has said that when a man marries, he has fulfilled half of his religion. When you get married, you fulfilled basically half of your religion, half of your deen. So now you should fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the remaining half. Okay, now let me ask some of the brothers, whoever wants to answer. What is meant by fulfilling half the religion? In what way? When you get married, you fulfill half of your deen. Any brothers want to raise their hands or brother the back?
Temptations and desire are only shared with your wife in a halal way.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, basically when you get married, then obviously as you know, and obviously those brothers who are married, you know that automatically, obviously there are some exceptions to the rule, but what I'm saying is that automatically what will happen is that you will lower your gaze. Automatically you're not going to be looking at another woman lustfully. I said some unfortunately do, but generally speaking I'm talking about. So when you get married, so before you were married, you were like, lustfully looking at everyone. Women, everyone, whether they were married, whether they were old, you were looking at them. But when you get married, then subhanAllah, through the barakah of marriage and nikah, you will lower your gazes. You will naturally now be satisfied with the wife you have. So now, because you're satisfied and the temptation side has now gone down, you could now use that time, or you could now use those desires, but for more better things. In other words, for God-fearing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, worship, ibadat, so on and so forth. So that in a nutshell is the explanation of this particular hadith. Similarly, we move on to the next page, page number 3 now. So again, the beginning part of that section talks about a wife in marriage code. So in other words, some hadiths Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentioned about having a pious wife or a righteous wife. So I just mentioned, we have a look at the first hadith, say for example, which can be found in Tabrani and in Mustadrak Hakim. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has said that if Allah grants a Muslim a righteous wife, this helps him preserve half of his religion. He should therefore fear Allah as regards to the other half. Okay, so remember, this nisful iman, half of your faith, can only be achieved if you've got a righteous wife. Okay, so our desire should always be that when we do get married, inshallah we'll touch on it later, always look for someone who is religious and pious. And again, some of the hadiths with regards to a pious or a virtuous wife, we move on to the next hadith, which can be found in Sahih Muslim. The Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has said that the whole world is a pleasure. Pleasure meaning the whole world is something which we derive benefit from, which we use, which we take benefit from, and the best pleasure of the world is the righteous woman. Okay? So these are just some hadiths with regards to wife, like when it comes to choosing a wife, and similarly sisters, when it comes to choosing a husband, make sure that who we choose happens to be religious and pious. But again, we'll inshallah touch on it later on as well. Even the next section, we've kind of mentioned the already purpose of nikah. So the purpose of nikah, why do we get married for? So again, there's a Quranic verse here that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created spouses for men so that you may gain comfort amongst them, sukoon, peace. And He has established between you love and compassion. Okay? So these are just some benefits or purposes of getting married and nikah. Again, it's like straightforward, there's not that much explanation here. Just mainly to encourage, say, some benefits, some virtues with regards to marriage and nikah. Now we're going to move on to the next section now. Ruling on getting married. So we're on page 4. Okay. This is more like the fiqh side now, ruling with regards to getting married. Now, unlike other things in Islam, where there's like a set rule. So like for example, if we were to ask a scholar or an imam about Hajj, do I need to go for Hajj, or what's the ruling of going for Hajj? The Imam Sahib will tell you that once in a lifetime is first, and anything extra or anything beyond that is considered to be optional. If you were to ask the Imam Sahib that what's the ruling of praying 5 daily prayers, the Imam Sahib or someone will tell you that it is first. So what I'm trying to say is that unlike other things in Islam, there are set rules that this is farz, this is wajib, this is a sunnah, this is desirable. But actually when it comes to the topic of marriage and nikah, there isn't actually a set rule. In other words, it depends on the situation. So it depends on the situation, and accordingly the rule or the answer or the fatwa is given. So if you were to ask, say, an Imam Sahib or a scholar, Maulana or Mufti, what's the ruling of me getting married? The Imam Sahib won't give you a straightforward answer that it's sunnat, it's farz, it's wajib and so on. He'll ask you about your situation, and then accordingly he will give the answer. Now if we just have a look at that paragraph on page 4, now it's mentioned that there are in total 5 different rules or 5 different opinions with regards to marriage and nikah. So the first situation is where when nikah or getting married is considered to be farz, is considered to be you have to, compulsory, no ifs or buts, like you have to. And when is that situation? It is that situation where a person is certain that if he doesn't get married soon, then that's it, he's going to commit zina. He's going to be committing fornication with a woman. He's going to be committing adultery with a woman. So when a person's got so much overwhelming desires that he can't control it anymore, he's so, desperate, that's the word, so desperate, so like, that's it, he's going to commit it. So when he's reached that level or that particular situation or state, then getting married becomes farz and compulsory for him. Now, if we could just use the notes on the left-hand side, the blank paper there, I'm just going to elaborate on another rule, another point, and this is with regards to masturbation. Now, the reason I'm mentioning it is that, obviously, very similar, that there may be someone who's not going to be committing adultery, but he's so desperate that he may be committing masturbation. Now, what I want to explain here very briefly is that what is the Islamic opinion or the Islamic kind of viewpoint when it comes to masturbation. Now, very simply, masturbation is something which is unlawful and haram in Islam. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said that the only way you can fulfill your desires is with your wives. So any other fulfilling of your desires, as Allah says in the Quran, فَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْعَادُونَ, they are transgressors. So the only way you can fulfill your desires is with your wives, and during the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's time, there were slave girls. But besides those 2 ways, i.e. slave girls or wives, any other way of fulfilling your desires is considered to be totally haram, strictly impermissible. So that is like looking at it from an Islamic point of view. Also, looking at it from a medical point of view, masturbation is also very, very harmful as well. Why? Because those who regularly masturbate, their private parts over time becomes bent and becomes crooked. So in other words, they're not able to fulfill their desires with their wives anymore. Also, doctors, medics also say this as well, that those who commit masturbation over time, they have this problem when they ejaculate very quickly, i.e. they fulfill their, or they come to a climax very quickly. So what happens is that they could only have intercourse with their wives for a few seconds, and that's it, their climax. Now you may be thinking, well, what's the big deal here? What's the big issue here? Obviously the big deal, big issue, we'll look at it later, is that if the wife's not satisfied, then what happens? What happens if she hasn't been given the Islamic tarbiyah, or if she doesn't know about intercourse, or say being unfaithful is something wrong, if she doesn't know that, then what happens is that you'll hear cases of wives cheating on their husbands. Now obviously it's her fault in a way that she shouldn't do it, but when you look at it, if the husband is not fulfilling her desires, and as I said before, don't just think that it's only men who have desires and women don't. No, women also have desires as well, because they are also insan, they are also human beings. So as I was mentioned right at the beginning, the same way men have desires in their hearts, similarly women have desires in their hearts as well. But the difference, and you could also look at it in a beautiful way as well, Allah has covered women's desires with modesty. Okay? With modesty. In other words, they won't show it. Men sometimes show it, like with their friends they'll show it. Or like, there was this case, there was a situation a couple of weeks back with this person. I don't know, he had an argument, two brothers, brothers being like, not real brothers, but there were two like kind of people, they had an argument, some issues about a shop or something. So they were having the argument. So that person was like, during the argument, I don't know, he's one of those funny characters that he kept on opening his belt. Because that, you know what, I'm a man, I'll show you I'm a man. So he kept on opening his belt and so on. So we were there, oh, come on, what are you doing? What are you doing? Like, don't open your belt, what on earth are you doing? But anyway, he kept on opening his belt to show he's a man. But anyway, as I said, you're not a man like that, showing your, opening your belt and showing that you're a man. So, as I was saying that, if a woman is not satisfied, as I was saying that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has covered her lust with modesty. But with men, Allah hasn't covered their lust with modesty. So that's why you hear cases where the guy wants to take off his belt and so on, because he doesn't have that modesty there. So as I was saying that women also have desires. So obviously if a man is not fulfilling his desires with his wife properly, then that will lead her to look at other men. Even though she shouldn't, and even though she should know that this is wrong, you're not supposed to be unfaithful, but obviously they're also insan, they're also human beings. Shaitan also comes to them as well and puts temptations and puts wrong thoughts in them. So that's why you hear cases of wives also being unfaithful. But when you look at it, if you were to go back, you'll realize that actually the problem lies with the husband, because he's not fulfilling his wife's desires, because of his habit of masturbating, then what happens is that it leads to problems in the marriage. So inshallah we'll touch on that later on as well when we look at the intimacy side briefly later on in the course. So the first point is basically first, that it's first and compulsory to get married when a husband or a man, he thinks that he's going to commit zina, commit adultery, it is then obligatory and first and compulsory for him to get married. The next situation, very similar, but the only difference is that it is necessary or wajib for a person to get married if he fears that he is going to commit adultery. So if he fears, so it's not certain. One is certainty, yaqeen we use in Arabic, where you basically know that you're going to be committing it. Then there is another word which is khawf, i.e. fear. So if somebody's like 50-50 but he thinks, you know what, I may commit zina, I may commit adultery, then in that case or in that situation it becomes wajib, which means like not compulsory or first, but a bit below that it becomes wajib for him to get married. Third situation, this is like for generally speaking in general situations that it is a sunnatul muakkada. I emphasize sunnah to get married when a person is not or does not have overwhelming desires like in the first two situations. So in the first two situations he had overwhelming desires, like he had a lot of lust, he was sure, he was certain that he's going to commit zina and adultery. So as long as that person is not in an overwhelming state of lust and desires, and he's not sure, and he's not like say sure or certain, or he doesn't have a fear that he will commit zina, if it's just like a normal state, then it's a sunnatul muakkada, and emphasize sunnah for him to get married. And the next two rules apply with regards to two other situations where it's makruh tahrimi and also unlawful to get married. So this is something which very few people, in particular this is more addressed to parents, are unaware of. That actually there are situations where it is disliked or even unlawful to get your sons married. Now why am I addressing the parents for here? Because again, I've dealt with cases where parents, they know that, you know, their son, he's got some problems. In other words, that he's impotent and he can't have intercourse with his wife. They know that. Or they also know that their son is actually mentally unstable. They know that he's majnoon, he's insane. They know everything, but what happens is that they still get their sons married. Right? Now what these two rules telling us here is that if we are sure, or if we know, or we fear that the son will not be able to fulfill the rights of his wife, whether it's like in the intimate side, so he's impotent but he can't have intercourse with his wife, and we know that, then it is haram and unlawful for us to get our sons married. Or like for example, our son is, you know, mentally is unstable, and we know that, look, if we were to get him married to such and such a woman, he's going to cause problems. He's going to beat her up, he's going to hit her, he's going to abuse her, he's going to physically, you know, insult her, abuse her, you name it, and we know that, then for us to even think about or contemplate getting our son married is haram and is unlawful. Okay? So these last 2 points are actually more for parents. Yeah? Whether upstairs or downstairs here, seriously, this happens a lot where, and then what eventually happens, obviously, if the husband can't have intercourse with his wife, then naturally that marriage is going to break down. Now, I'll mention later that even psychologists say that one of the factors required for a marriage to last is the intimacy side. Because obviously, if the husband's not getting intimate with his wife, the marriage is going to break down, he's going to be looking somewhere else. Similarly, if the wife is not receiving, you know, is not getting any affection or is not being intimate with her husband, she'll also look somewhere else as well. Even, you know, psychology, they also say that as well. So it's one of the factors to maintain a marriage. So if the husband or the son who you got married to, you know that he's impotent, you know there's something wrong with him, but even then you get him married, obviously after a few months when the wife clicks on, she's going to ask for a separation. She'll ask for a khula, she'll ask for a separation, she'll want out of the marriage. And the same also if you know that your son is, you know, totally mentally unstable, that he's hot-headed, he could be very, very abusive, he's basically mentally not there. Then again what's going to happen, you get your son married, again a few months later the marriage is going to break down. So these last 2 points are very, very important, in particular for the boys and girls as well. But sometimes what happens is that sons, they'll explain to their father, look, I don't want to get married because I've got this problem, or I've got that problem. But because the father doesn't want to be like asked awkward questions, say after namaz, look, your son's in his 30s, why aren't you getting him married? Or your son's 40, why aren't you getting him married? So because the father doesn't want to get asked awkward questions, what does he do? Even though he knows that his son got some problems, he'll get him married. And then afterwards, if the marriage doesn't work out, then the father could then turn around and say to the people, oh, well, it wasn't my son's fault, it was the wife's fault. She ran away. And in that way, the father puts the blame on the wife. And remember, when you accuse someone wrongly and unjustly, that is a grave, grave sin. That is a very bad sin. And unfortunately, it happens within our community that the father knows that son's got a problem, but he's too embarrassed, or he doesn't want everyone in the community to know that my son's got this problem, that he's important. We just get him married. Obviously, a few months later, the wife will ask for a separation, we'll give it to her. But then what we'll do, we'll shift the entire blame on the wife. We'll say, oh, the wife was like this. So she never used to listen to my son, she was disobedient. You know, we bought her from Pakistan, but look, 3 months later, she's got a visa, or she's got a passport, now she wants to go away. So we'll put the entire blame on the wife. So now when people do that, that is a form of oppression and zulm, where you accuse people or you make accusations about someone. That is considered to be oppression, zulm, and that is considered to be sinful in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So these last 2 points in particular, where it is makruh tahrimi, severely disliked, or even haram to get married, remember it applies when more to parents, because obviously sometimes the sons or even the daughters, they know they got some problems and they don't want to get married, but parents are not willing to listen to them. So these 2 points in particular for parents, they should keep in mind, because look, you don't want to destroy somebody else's life. Obviously, especially in our community, in particular for sisters, that if they are divorced, nobody wants to marry them again. Yeah, the only way she can get married is that she goes back to Pakistan or India and she gets married. Within our community, if you find out there's been a sister who's divorced, unfortunately many people think she's been used, so I don't want to get married to her. And also number 2, the second point they think is that, well, naturally they just think, oh, it's her fault, you know, it's not the husband's fault, it was her fault. So these 2 points in particular, for parents to remember that it's not good and totally and certainly impermissible to destroy other people's life. So don't use your son's issues or problems or your daughter's issues and problems to get or to mess somebody else's life up. So these are 2 points to remember under that particular section. Okay, what I'll do is there are a few minutes left, inshallah, before we end the first session. So any brothers who have any questions they would like to ask for what we have discussed from the beginning all the way till now, before we make a start of the next section, G.
Obviously, coming back to the ruling of marriage, what if obviously someone can't have children? What's the ruling on that?
Inshallah, we'll actually look at it under the selection of a partner section, that these things should be like communicated. So just for example, if the boy for some reason he can't have children, or the girl can't have children, so it should be communicated to in the meeting, when you have that first meeting, when you look at the prospective suitor, it should be communicated. Now if the girl is happy, she goes, okay, that's fine, or the boy is happy, that okay, that's fine, then that's okay, they could get married. And even like what I mentioned about the importancy part as well, if the girl, say for example, knows that, okay, my husband's got this problem, but you know what, I don't mind, I'd rather, you know, I'll just serve him, I'm not that fussed, then that's also okay as well. So the marriage will remain intact, the marriage will still be there, so that would be permissible. So because obviously these things about intercourse, intimacy, children, they're more rights of the couple. So if they are willing to give up that right and say, okay, I don't mind having children, then that's okay. Obviously, if they're not willing to give up that right, then obviously later on they could ask for a cancellation of a marriage. Any questions from any of the brothers?
Brother, I have a very quick question. Should a person want to get married, but the parents are dragging their feet for whatever reason, can that person go ahead on his own without parents' permission?
Yeah. Inshallah, that bit's coming up later about getting married without your parents' permission. So there's a topic which is coming up later. So inshallah, we'll look at it in a bit more detail. Okay. Any other questions?
You know, you mentioned that it desires to be fulfilled with the wife or with the slave girl. How did the slave girl
Obviously, it doesn't apply in this day and age, but during Prophet ﷺ's time, the companions' time, early period of Islam, there were slave girls. So the way slave girls work, in a nutshell, is that, just say there was a war between Muslims and non-Muslims. So the Muslims took over that particular area. So their women now are considered to be the slave girls of the Muslims. So that's how you have slave girls. Obviously, it doesn't occur in this day and age anymore. Any other questions or?
Sheikh, I think we may have some questions from the sisters.
Sisters, okay. Okay, that's fine. Alhamdulillah, asking questions, as mentioned in the hadith, is nisful ilm, is half of knowledge. So, if any brothers want to ask questions, whether openly in front of everyone, or if you're a bit, there's certain issues you want to talk about, delicate issues, and you think that I don't want everybody else to know about, then obviously you could speak to me during the 15 minutes break.
When you said all the prophets are married, was Isa married?
He was, besides Isa alayhi salam and Yahya alayhi salam, besides those two prophets, everybody else was married. But as we know that Isa alayhi salam will get married when he comes before the end of time. He will get married and he will then pass away and be very close to the grave of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, as is our beliefs.
Did he come as a prophet?
No, when he comes later on, he will not come as a prophet. He will come more as a follower of the ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
What is the problem in society is rather sister or brother married with children. They can't get married again. There are children issue on that category.
I think these issues about, as I mentioned, women who are divorced or women who have children, it just certain perceptions. Like, as I was explaining, many brothers, they don't want to get married to a divorced woman again because she's been used, or they attach blame to her for the reason why she separated from her first husband. I think the way to tackle the issue, as you just mentioned, is again these courses here, knowledge, telling brothers that they're not used products. If that was the case, then Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, besides saying that Aisha then all of his wives were either divorcees or widows. So it's just education. It's just like these courses, telling brothers, informing brothers and sisters as well that look, there's nothing wrong with getting married to divorced women, because all of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's wives, besides Aisha, were all divorcees, weren't they? So if they were used products, why did Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam get married to them?
I think something on those ladies who are brought here as a wife from Pakistan, especially, and Mirpur, they're treated very badly here. And that there's, they're left to fend for themselves. This needs to be highlighted, the society needs to look after their...
There's a topic which I'm going to mention later about marrying women from Pakistan, India, or marrying boys from Pakistan, India, and why is it something like we should be doing in this day and age. I'll touch on it there, inshallah, but and also touch on it about beating and these kind of things. Obviously, this is something which is not allowed in Islam, but unfortunately it happens within our society. Okay, so inshallah, it's 11:15, so we've got a 15 minutes break, so we want to start on time, so it's for 15 minutes, and we'll resume session number 2 at 11:30. That's the whole thing track on. We said well with that one.